In a recently released interview made by a local Burkinabe media, President Ibrahim Traore revealed some interesting news and details of some of the things that have been going on in the country. In today's video, we are going to show you those details and also analyze them together. First, Traore spoke about the issue of negotiating with terrorists. Since terrorism became a huge problem in Africa, there have been some countries that have been open to the idea of negotiating with these jihadists so that they can stop attacking people. It would surprise you to know that in November last year, it was reported that the military junta of Niger, General Tiani, began negotiations with terrorists as part of efforts to seek solutions to the country's escalating insecurity. According to the publications released, 86 terrorists were released from the anti-terrorist cell as well as other prisons, and among the freed are notorious terrorist leaders such as Dandjou Aliou, Haroun Boubacar, Altini Bella, Kabirou Bazo, and others. However, given that the attacks have continued in Niger, it is safe to say that the negotiation did not work, and the government has begun to launch several attacks against the jihadists. As for President Traore, his stance is different. During the interview, Traore revealed that a few weeks after he came to power, that's around October and November 2022, he was approached by emissaries from several countries, although he didn't mention their names, who told him to negotiate with the terrorists. He said, "Each time they told us to negotiate in some way with the terrorists because they wanted a corridor, that is to say, leave a portion of land for the terrorists to operate and they will leave us alone." However, he revealed that he refused. In his own words, "It was not possible because we are Burkinabe. We prefer to die in dignity than to negotiate the conditions of our slavery. Negotiating with terrorists is negotiating the conditions of slavery."
Each time they told us to negotiate in some way with the terrorists because they wanted a corridor, they just wanted to make traffic. That is to say, to leave a portion of the land. They will leave us alone. We said it was not possible because we are Burkinabe. So, we prefer to die in dignity than to negotiate the conditions of our slavery. Negotiating with these people is negotiating the conditions of our slavery.
Traore's decision reflects his resolute stance against terrorists, and it brings to mind what he said in May 2023, that the military government would defend the territory of Burkina Faso and its population, whatever the cost. Traore also revealed that during that time, President Bazoum, who was still in power, was working out a deal with the terrorists and some foreign agents who may be from France. And that was when those emissaries were sent to Burkina Faso to try and convince them to negotiate with the terrorists. However, as confirmed by Traore, the negotiations did not stop the attack, and it is safe to say that negotiating with terrorists is out of the option. Moving on, Traore spoke about the current tense relation between Burkina Faso and Ivory Coast. Recall that in recent times, ties between both countries have been rocky as a result of several incidents of friction. Last September, 2 Ivorian police officers were arrested in Burkinabe territory at an illegal gold mining site, and in March this year, a Burkinabe soldier and a civilian official were arrested in the north of Côte d'Ivoire. In a recent interview with national television RTB, President Traore raised concerns about strained relations with neighboring countries, particularly Ivory Coast. He accused Côte d'Ivoire of sheltering elements opposing his regime and failing to address the terrorist threat spilling over the Ivorian border. During the broadcast on April 26th, Captain Ibrahim Traore emphasized efforts to foster understanding with most neighboring countries, but singled out Côte d'Ivoire for alleged lack of cooperation. He stated, "They must return to better sentiments. All the destabilizers of Burkina Faso are there. Ivorian officers spoke ill of Burkina. There is an issue that needs to be addressed honestly, without deceit." He also added, "At some point, we have to stop the hypocrisy and tell the truth. There's a problem with the authorities of this country." Traore also mentioned a breakdown in communication with Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara, citing insufficient collaboration in pursuing fugitive elements. Speaking of Ivorian President Alassane Ouattara, Traore said he had no special contacts with him. He said, At first we spoke a little on the telephone. He sent me emissaries. We discussed. We were hoping things went ahead with common sense, but he added that that is broken now. The sour relationship between both countries resulted in a border meeting between the defense chiefs of both countries. During the recent interview, Traore spoke about the border meeting. He said that the meeting ended well, but the ball is in their court. We had frank exchanges. We're looking at them now, he said. The interviewer then went on to ask Traore about the 3 French diplomats who were expelled from Burkina Faso on allegations of subversive activities. Recall that in April, the authorities in Burkina Faso ordered 3 French diplomats to leave the country within 48 hours on the allegations of subversive activities. According to a source, their expulsion was due to meetings they held with civil society leaders. Speaking on the issue, Traore revealed that certain countries, one of which is France, have plans to destabilize Burkina Faso. He said that there is physical elimination, which would mean the assassination of Traore himself, the manipulation of the armed forces, and the media. Speaking of manipulating the media through disinformation, Traore stated that the aim is to manipulate the Burkinabe people and turn them against the government so that they will no longer support the transitional government. And you know that if the people no longer support the transition government, it would give France and those who are against Traore's leadership the ground to intervene and remove the transition government. Next up, Traore was asked to comment about the recent remarks made by former French General Lecointre. If you recall, in April this year, the former Chief of Defense Staff, General Lecointre, came out to speak regarding France's diminishing influence and presence in the Sahel, as well as in Africa. During that interview, the general stated that fears that Europe is abandoning its responsibility to the African continent at a critical time. In his own words, "What is our common destiny as Europeans is the Mediterranean and Africa, where our destiny is at stake. And so we have constantly tried, we French, to draw Europeans into this awareness of the need to act collectively in Africa and the Mediterranean. And I am absolutely sorry to see the failure of our commitments in the Sahel." According to the general, it is highly necessary and important that Europe act and interfere in Africa because the African continent struggles with state collapse, civil wars, and climate change. So Europe is supposed to swoop in as a savior. He also added that Africa will experience a demographic explosion like no continent has ever experienced, and it will have consequences on Europe in the next 10 and 20 years. Hence, the need for Europe to interfere militarily in the continent. The general ended by saying that Russia, with its Wagner Group, and China are not capable of offering lasting solutions to Africa's problems. The only people that can are Europe. In his own words, in 10 years or more, we must return and help these African countries to rebuild state structures, restore administrations, and foster development. Just like how African activist Nathalie Yam responded in her tweet regarding the general's statement, Traore in this interview stated that the general's statement simply means that France wants to recolonize Africa, and he added that it is possible that France is already preparing plans to do so. Traore then said that the people need to be awakened to what's going on, and the responsibility to awaken the masses lies in the hands of the media and journalists. He urged journalists in Burkina Faso to spread the news of how the military is working hard to fight terrorism and explain the plans of the West to ensure that Africa remains dependent on them. Finally, Traore took out time to highlight some of the achievements made by his transitional government. According to Traore, Burkina Faso is at war against terrorism and insecurity, but his administration has not forgotten other sectors and aspects of the country such as agriculture that need to be developed. He said, "We have made progress. You can go to the villages to see the impact of our actions on agriculture last year." He also added that, "You can go to the water field. A lot of wells have been dug in areas where people never knew drinking water." Regarding health, Traore said there are lots of things to be done in the field of health, but there are plans underway to develop facilities that will support the health industry. In the field of SMEs, President Traore stated that his administration has reduced a lot of taxes which has helped people to create small businesses that the government plans to support by providing funds. Traore also spoke of challenges that need to be addressed, such as the issue of corruption, which has eaten deep into the system, the country's debt, as well as insecurity. Yet again, from this interview, we can tell how committed Ibrahim Traore is to building and developing Burkina Faso. He is truly an admirable leader that every African leader should follow after. Thanks for watching. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video.